Hello and welcome to the Hypnosis Academy. Today I'm going to talk about ideomotor signaling, or what's also known as muscle testing. And I'll tell you my opinion on it. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So when I was training in NLP, I came across muscle testing. And that was because some of the people who were on the group, they were muscle testing in their work. And also the guy who ran the course, he showed us some muscle testing. What was interesting was he did a display of muscle testing that failed. Okay, he did it and it failed. And so I was thinking, I wasn't a great fan, because obviously you want to see something work, don't you? So what is muscle testing or ideomotor signaling? The idea of it is this, that when we want to answer a question, yes or no, or whatever, we can say whatever we fancy. And we all know that we shouldn't believe our clients, because our clients don't know what the problem is. And often they'll skirt around the problem and they'll tell you something else. But the idea of muscle testing is you're actually talking directly to the body, whether it be the body wisdom or whether it be the unconscious mind. You're talking directly to the body. And so the body gives you a true answer. That's the idea of muscle testing. It gives you the true answer. And how do you do it? Well, you've probably seen your various ways of muscle testing. The most famous way is where you get someone to lock their arm like this, and then you just ask them some questions that have a yes or no, or you make statements that are true or false. And then what you do is you push down on their arm. You say, keep your arm straight, and you push down, okay? And when the answer is yes, the arm's firm. But when the answer is no, the arm isn't as strong, okay? So that's kind of that was the first muscle test. That was the one that failed. The reason it failed was because he did it with somebody who was a weightlifter, who was extremely strong, and you couldn't tell the difference. You know, this guy was really strong. I've seen the same system used when people are testing to see if a food is bad for them or not. Or if, for example, the mobile that they've got is causing them damage. And so they do a muscle test without the mobile, then they pick the mobile up and they see whether they're weaker or not. If they're weaker, you know that the mobile's doing something. The same with food. The food's not there, strong, right, hold this in your hand, strong or weak. And if it's weak, it means that food is not good for you, okay? I personally think that it's a great system, but not in isolation. Not in isolation. I think when you talk to people, they're constantly giving you signals about whether what they're saying is true or whether what you're saying is true or not. They're constantly, the body language and the facial gestures and the words that people use, and then the emotional reaction, these are all guides to help you know. So if you're talking to somebody and you say a certain thing and they burst into tears, you know that is very, very important. But sometimes people don't give you, or they just don't know. They don't know. So then muscle testing kind of moved from this into this kind of muscle testing, where you just test the strength of you hold your finger and your thumb together and you pull your fingers through. And if the answer is yes, it's strong. And if it's no, it's weak. Okay? So that's a muscle test. Now, what I've discovered, I've worked with people who've done muscle testing on me, but there are two ways of muscle testing. One is to muscle test the person, right? So they do it with legs. They do. My wife, she's done a course where you actually ask the question. You've got the 2 feet together. And if they're aligned, it's yes. And if they go out of line, it's no. Right? So there are lots and lots of ways of doing it. The issue that we've got is that we also have muscles, and we also project onto people what we think is the truth. Okay? And this is where I think the problem comes with muscle testing. I think if you're going to do muscle testing on other people, boy, you've got to be able to rise above all of your own conditioning, all of your own thoughts. It isn't easy. And so I've had people who've done muscle testing by proxy. So they say, do you give me permission to muscle test for you? And they muscle test, okay? And they're doing it on your behalf. Now, that's where I think the problems start. There are problems with muscle testing people as well, because you could just misread, or you don't know what's going through the mind. But when you muscle test on behalf of somebody, if you can't blank out your mind and shut down all of your preconceptions, then quite often what you're doing is muscle testing yourself. And so I've had some experiences where I had what I would say very unsatisfactory results by people muscle testing for me. That happens with Zoom, of course, because you can't muscle test a person. And so you have to kind of do it on their behalf. I've used it, but it isn't something that I would use a lot, just because I don't know who I'm testing. Who am I testing? And I think that's where the issue comes, okay? However, there is something very positive about muscle testing, or what we call ideomotor signaling. Now, a long time ago, I discovered that I could talk with various parts of me just using a yes, no finger signal. And you set it up by getting an unconscious movement, okay? And you've got to set it up properly. An unconscious movement. Let's see if we can. I'll show you what an unconscious movement is. Right. So I've set this up a long time ago. So if I say to my unconscious mind, "Can you give me a yes, an unconscious yes signal?" So watch my finger. Okay, I'm not doing that. My unconscious mind's doing that. Thank you, unconscious. Right. This is my movement. Okay. And you see, I'll tell you what, I'll put it here, right? So this is my movement, right? And then I'm going to ask my unconscious mind to give me an unconscious yes signal. Right, can you see the difference? What happens when you get an unconscious signal? It's not smooth. The unconscious mind doesn't move smoothly when it moves your body. It moves. Will you do it again? It moves in a very jerky fashion, okay? It's kind of you get these, or sometimes get a bit of vibration or twitching. That's an unconscious movement. So I discovered that I could talk, and I talked to different parts of myself. I talked to my unconscious mind, I talked to my higher self, and I also talked to my body wisdom, okay? But then I made a big mistake. The big mistake that I made was that I thought that if I could ask my body wisdom and my unconscious mind to do things that were not normal, and if it said yes, I believed that it would do them. And that was my downfall. So I would say things like this. Okay, can you help me to lose weight? Okay, I want to lose weight. I want to lose 10 pounds. Can you help me? And it would go, yes. I think, yeah, get in. I don't have to do anything else. And I wouldn't do anything else. And I never lost the weight. I would ask her to do weird stuff. Now, what happens is when you start doing that, when you start asking for weird stuff, you lose the confidence in those parts. Because they're just like, well, yeah, what you want me to reverse your age? I want to look 10 years younger. Will you do that? Yes. Okay, and that's not how it works. That's not how it works. And so what happened was I was doing that regularly and asking really silly things. And in the end, nothing was working for me. Nothing. And I lost confidence in the process. And also the process and my unconscious mind lost confidence in me. And that's important. Our unconscious mind is the most honest part of us. And so if we start playing games with it, it'll just tell you anything. It'll tell you anything. It'll just say whatever, just to keep you happy. But it won't act on it. So that I left that for a long time. Then when I turned 50, I noticed that my life was going tits up, as they say. And I used to look in the mirror and I used to think, you look awful. You look awful, dreadful. And I knew that I was ingesting something that was giving me a violent reaction. Puffy eyes, puffy face, like filled with fluid. I didn't know what it was. I mean, the fact that I was drinking lots of alcohol didn't help, but it actually wasn't the alcohol. And so what I started to do was I started to use this system with everything that I ate. So I just went through every single thing that I ingested, everything, even down to the pepper and the curry powder and cinnamon and stuff like that, everything that I ate. So what I discovered, and do you know what the sad thing is? I'd done this 20 years before, and when I did it, I was told, salt is your problem. Salt, okay? And I just dismissed it. I dismissed it. And this is the key that I'm going to tell you about. When I went back, sure enough, salt, no. But you know what happened? It told me no to just about everything that I was eating, except living vegetables, fish, and rice. Okay? It said yes to that. But other than that, nothing. Nothing. No bread, no gluten, no. Lactose, no. Anything spicy, no. And it just kept saying no, no, no. But the difference was when I did it this time, if it said no, I'd never had it again. Okay? I never had it. But I would check every now and again, is it still a no? No. Right. And so I was absolutely faithful to what it said. When it said no, you know, they say let your yes be yes and your no be no. If you do this, and if you really want to get a good result, if you're told no, it's no. And you can't go back. Because then if you say, well, it said no, but I'm going to do it anyway, the next time it'll give you rubbish. It'll give you rubbish answers. So what happened? I went through, I cut everything out that it said no to, and I kept in the things that said yes. It was a big transition. It was tough. But within a year, everything changed in my life. I lost loads of weight. I started to feel energetic. I looked better. I started to look younger than I was. It was just wonderful. It really transformed my entire life, and it still does, because I still do it now. But you know what was interesting? As time went on, I would check some of the things. Like, I like, if I'm going to eat a meal, I'd like to put some spices on it. And so I would check, and after a while, it started saying yes to some spices. So I could start putting them on. And it said yes to various things, but not much. Not much. The things that, make food interesting. But the essence of what they said, it's never changed. And if I check salt today, and it doesn't matter whether it's sea salt, Himalayan salt, whatever, if I check that, it says no. There's something that it does to my body that my body doesn't like. And really, when I look back, it's always been a problem. Ever since I was even a teenager, it would cause me tremendous problems. The same with lactose. I would get massive sinusitis, like so bad, so painful. And I never get sinusitis now. Never. Never, ever, ever. And so what I'm saying is that if you want to use ideomotor signaling, use it on yourself. Use it on yourself. And only in the extreme cases, you can actually ask on behalf of somebody, but then it takes a lot of mental acuity to get yourself out of that equation. And personally, I don't think I'm able to do it. I'm in the equation because my mind's always saying, oh, this, it'll be a yes or whatever. So do it for yourself. But also, my suggestion is, if you want to turn your life around, if you're not in a good place, if you're poorly, if you have long-term illness, if you just don't feel good, if you feel depressed, if you feel anxious, if you're overweight, do this. But let your yes be yes and your no be no. And if you do it, I promise you that within 12 months, your life will be completely different. If you do it rightly. And if you set it up nicely as well, okay? So that's what ideomotor signaling is, on muscle testing. It's very popular. My dentist did some muscle testing on me, to find out whether I had my jaw was out of line or whatever. And fascinating, love it, absolutely love it. But it's got its limitations, but it's got its benefits too. And so I'm a massive fan of muscle testing, but done in the right way, at the right time, in the right situation. It can change your life. Okay, that's all I've got to say. I love you all, and I'll speak to you later. Bye-bye.